Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is a video about axis conversion in between 3ds Max and Unity. So what you want to do is you want to, when you're exporting your 3ds Max data files in an FBX format, you want to make sure that the axis conversion or the axes of your objects are going to be looking in the correct direction. What does it mean? You always want to make sure when you, for example, have a plane like I do, which will just be our model for testing purposes, you want to make sure that the forward axis, so where the front part is, or where the forward direction of the plane in this case is going to be, you want to make sure that when you're exporting this one to Unity, that this is going to be the converted z-axis to be the forward axis in Unity. So since as you can see, the coordinate system is the z-axis. In this case, it's looking up instead of looking forward, or in this case, back. So there's a conversion between the y-axis, which in this case is going to be switched for the z-axis and vice versa. So once again, z-axis is in 3ds Max looking up instead of looking forward. So the first things you want to make sure is that your object you want to actually export is looking in the correct direction at first, so in the correct view. So when you're looking at the top view, actually you don't know if that is correct now, but if you're looking into the front view, you can always go and change the view by pressing the F key on the keyboard. Is going to show you the front. If you're holding down the V key, you're gonna get a list of viewports you are able to pick off, and you also see all the shortcuts for those. So you want to make sure that you are in the front view. So when I now change the camera a bit by holding down Alt and dragging the middle mouse button, I can see I'm actually looking to the back side of my plane currently, because I just created that basically. Or maybe I just rotated it in the wrong direction, all the other things. So you want to make sure that the complete plane as a whole object or a object group, it doesn't really matter for this particular piece now, you want to make sure that this is looking into the front. So I want, when I am seeing or pressing the front view, I want to see the front of the plane, in this case the little part, the front part basically. So when I'm in the front view, I want to see the front of the plane. So what I need to do at first, I need to rotate this. So the shortcut for this is E. You can also use angle snap toggle, so you can actually rotate this by 180 degrees if you need to. This is only in need and can. So basically everything is looking now in another direction. So when I now go to the front view, I can see this is the front of my plane. Also, you want to make sure that when you're looking at the plane, that the bottom is also the bottom. So basically the wheels would be at the southern part in here, and the other parts from the back are looking this correct direction. You can also go always and check the view cube and use this for this particular part. What you also want to do is you want to make sure that your object's pivot point, which is this rotational point currently, when you're on a local axis, you can see this a bit better maybe, or I don't know. So when we are looking at our current pivot now in the view, but let's go to local. So we see the local orientation. You can see my current forward axis is the y-axis of this particular group in here. And all the other sub-objects might have any other direction, but currently we don't care about those. And as you can see, that axis is going to look upwards, as it does in here. If I would just rotate this complete thing by 180 degrees, you're gonna see that this is completely vice versa. So the x-axis is also looking in the other direction as well. So let me undo 2 steps in here, and let's go forward. So this is what you need to take care of first. The front view of whatever you are exporting, be it a building, be it a fence, or be it a tree. Make sure that the front of whatever you're exporting is looking at you as a user in the front view. So once you have done that, you want to make sure that you convert this particular axis so that the z-axis is looking forward. So we need to take care of that in 2 steps. The first one is the exporting step. The second one is going to be the manipulation step. So let's first manipulate this. Also make sure that everything is at 0, 0, 0 when you're in view settings. So your ship basically, or the pivot point, might be at 0, 0, 0, or at least in the center of the object. Well, depending on where you need it. Usually I would just go down and bring this one onto the axis of the propeller part on the front. So what I would do is you can go to the modify panel in here, and the second one, the third panel, in this case a hierarchy panel. When you're going to that, you are able to affect the pivot only. So you can actually bring this pivot down to whatever you want. So to any position, for example. And of course, it depends on what you have selected. If it is a main part, if it is the group itself, you can always go in. You can also change it by dragging it upwards, forwards, back, right, and you can even align it. We go into alignment in just a second. So when you think, okay, my pivot point, which is basically the center of mass, and of course the axis conversion axis in this case. So for example, when we are rotating our ship, we want to make sure that we are rotating around that particular point. So for example, we rotate this one here, you want to make sure that not the that the correct, or the spot is going to be the correct one, or the pivot point is at the correct position in this case, of rather the complete group or even that particular object. Doesn't really matter as long as it fits you. Okay, so the next part is you want to create an extra object. This extra object is going to be our rotation object. So no matter where you create it, no matter how you create it, make sure everything is looking in the front of you. Then you go to the create panel, and you want to create a new geometry in this case. And you want to make sure that you're creating a tube. So a tube is nothing else than just an empty cylinder in this case. So I just drag one out in here, make any, it doesn't really matter about the size, and you want to drag a length as well. So you're gonna have a complete tube. The cool thing about the tube is that we can, that this tube, we need to make sure that we create this in front view, by the way. The cool thing about this, the axis conversion of the tube, is the axis conversion we're gonna need later on in Unity. So what we're gonna do is, once again, in front view, in this case, we're gonna now go once again to hierarchy, select your plane, affect pivot only. And what you want to do is you want to hit Alt and A, and you're gonna get this little sign on your mouse. You want to select the tube in here, so this is quick align. We're gonna align the pivot now to the tube, but don't press anything. We're gonna have this new window open in here. This new window open tells us we want to align position, or orientation, or scale, or even all the three. We don't want to change the position of our pivot, but we want to change the orientation of the pivot. And we know when we are done with that, we're gonna press OK. Okay, so this way our pivot is looking well different now to whatever the view is. When we now go to local, you're gonna see that the z-axis has been changed. Well, it has, because we're gonna do that. So as you can see now, the z-axis is now looking backwards, or actually in this case forward, in the forward axis, and the y-axis is now looking up. So as you remember beforehand, it was different. But since we didn't have the possibility to do it that easy, we need to do the conversion with just a tube. After you're done with that, you can just get rid of the tube, and you just select what you want to export. And now we go to the export process. So you go to export, and in this case you might want to use export selected. So only the stuff you are selecting is gonna be exported. So we give it a name, just any name, it doesn't really matter. So for me it's maybe plane or airplane, whatever, or your object, your whatever you want to create. Gonna save, and we're gonna get the export settings open. You can always go in and fiddle around with the user defined one. You can also try other ones about Mudbox and stuff, but actually you don't need to, you just need to follow around. So the first one you want to enable is of course smoothing groups, turbo smooth, converting deforming dummies to bones, and the preserve edge orientation. If you need anything else, well, feel free to do so, but you won't, you don't like to, or you shouldn't go and triangulate all that stuff in here. That should be disabled. So we don't need to preserve instances by this, and same for selection sets, we don't need them. It's just useless. Okay, so since this is a non-animated one, I can disable animation. If you have an animated one, make sure you enable animation. So everything else like deformations, curve filters, and all the other stuff, and even character conversion from hierarchy independent stuff and cat objects. We don't need to take care of this one at the moment. So same, you don't want to have camera selected, you don't want to have lights, and you don't want to have embedded media. If you want to have the media like textures and, well, let's say standard materials inside the object in the FBX file, you are able to do so, but usually we don't do that. So for units, you want to make this one to automatic. Currently I'm working in the centimeter space, but if you're working with inch, that's totally fine as well. Just keep it as it automatic as it is. Also for axis conversion, you want to make sure that the y-axis is the up axis, so y is up. Don't forget that, that's important. And you want to make sure that you use a, let's say, older version of the FBX file format in the type binary. You can also use ASCII, but I recommend using binary, and FBX 2K12 or 2K11 in this case is working pretty good. So once you're done with all the settings and going through, you can actually go and export this one by pressing OK. And that's basically it. So now we can open up a Unity object project and can implement this one and can show you that everything is as it has to be. Now we are going to import our FBX file in our project. So no matter what your project is going to be, I recommend using folders like 3D models folder where all the 3D models are going to land in. Same for textures and stuff later on as well. So I will go and drag mine into the 3D models folder. As you can see, there's going to be the plane we just have created pretty quickly, or I just created beforehand. Which we just exported basically, and we have this materials folder will be holding only a no-name material like a white one. It's automatically created by the FBX file. So you are basically able to get rid of it, or you can go in and create your own ones and just drag in all the materials, of course, you just created before and from your specific game object or 3D model in this case. So importing that stuff is not too hard to understand, I would say. So the scale factor is going to stay the same as 1. So 1 means 1 meter by 1 meter, 1 by 1 meter means 1 meter in total. And same for the scale. So we're going to use a file scale we're going to just have saved in the FBX file as well. We can always go in later on change the values, but it doesn't really matter at all. Also, when you're right clicking on the preview video, you can see the orientation is currently, well, as we have just exported in 3ds Max. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we maybe use weld vertices. It's maybe not important because if you have used or created the clean model, you don't need to take care of this one. Same for we want to keep quads if you like to. It doesn't really matter actually, but if you want to keep it cleaned, you might want to just keep it as it is, or just keep quads if you like them more than triangles. Actually, it doesn't really matter, and same for optimizing meshes. I don't know if there is just a specific distance where the mesh needs to be optimized by Unity itself. So basically, we don't need to take care of all that stuff in here. If you have something rigged, like it depends always, of course, on the rig itself. You need to go in and don't forget to apply changes and change the rig to whatever the animation type has been. So if you're using a biped or a CAD rig, then you might want to go in and choose the humanoid or generic. But for this particular purpose, it doesn't really matter since we just have some kind of basic static game object. So same for animations. If the model contains animations, of course, we are able to import them. So in this case, we don't need to import them because there are none in here. And what you now want to do is you want to drag this one into the hierarchy panel. So why are we doing that? Because we want to see if the scale is correct, and of course we want to see if the direction is correct as well. So I just dragged this one in and it placed this one at a rather weird position, so you can zero this one out if you like to. This is dependent on the game object's pivot point, and I believe it is because of the group I just created where all little pieces have been in here. So everything is okay, everything seems to be fine, so we can check this one out. As you can see, the top is the top as we have exported this one. Same for the front, and the front is going to show us into the Z direction or Z direction as I just explained and showed in the 3ds Max part. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.